Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala nabina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, today we will reflect on the remarkable story of the Prophet Ayub alayhi salam, a story that exemplifies immense trials, patience and unwavering faith in Allah. His life serves as a profound lesson on how to remain steadfast in the face of suffering and how to turn to Allah with sincerity and devotion, no matter the hardship we endure. The trials of Prophet Ayub alayhi salam and his eventual reward are briefly mentioned in Surah Al-Anbiya, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praises his patience and sincerity in supplication. Despite enduring extreme physical suffering, loss of wealth and family hardships, he remained firm in his faith and gratitude towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. His story is a powerful reminder that true believers hold on to their trust in Allah even in the most difficult times. And in this video, inshallah, we will explore 4 key aspects of his life that offer valuable spiritual lessons. Number 1 is regarding the Prophet Ayub's alayhi salam life before the trial, highlighting his wealth, health and devotion to Allah. Number 2 is severe tests he endured, including illness, loss of wealth and family trials. Number 3 is his unshakable patience and powerful dua, demonstrating how he sought refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And lastly, Allah's mercy and his ultimate reward, showing that patience and faith lead to relief and blessings. Through his inspiring journey, we will learn more about how faith and perseverance can transform trials into a path of spiritual growth and divine reward. Prophet Ayub alayhi salam was one of the most righteous and prosperous men of his time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had blessed him abundantly in both worldly and spiritual aspects, making him a symbol of devotion, gratitude and righteousness. His life was filled with wealth, family and strong faith, and he used his blessings to serve Allah and to serve his creation. Allah had granted Ayub alayhi salam immense wealth, which included vast lands, abundant livestock and extensive resources. He owned flocks of sheep, camels and fields of crops, making him one of the most affluent individuals in his society. Despite his great wealth, he was never arrogant or selfish. Instead, he used his resources to help the needy and support the less fortunate. His generosity earned him deep respect and love from his people. Along with his wealth, Prophet Ayub alayhi salam was blessed with a large and loving family. He had many children, and his home was filled with happiness and warmth. His family was well respected in the community, and they were known for their righteousness and good character. His household was a place of love, harmony and faith, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's name was constantly remembered. Prophet Ayub alayhi salam was not only wealthy and respected, but also physically strong and healthy. He possessed great endurance and energy, which he used to engage in acts of worship, charity and service to others. Most importantly, he had a pure heart filled with unwavering devotion to Allah. He never let his material success distract him from his duties as a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Despite being surrounded by wealth, family and health, Prophet Ayub alayhi salam remained humble and deeply grateful to Allah. His faith was unshaken, and he understood that all his blessings were gifts from Allah, which could be taken away at any point of time. One day, Ayub alayhi salam, despite his piety and devotion, was about to face one of the most severe trials ever recorded in history. His life, once filled with comfort and prosperity, would soon be transformed into a period of unimaginable hardship, testing his patience, testing his faith, and fully submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's will. And this trial was not a punishment, but rather a means of purifying and elevating him, proving that the true faith is not dependent on wealth or ease, but remain steadfast even if you are suffering. One by one, Prophet Ayub alayhi salam lost everything as Allah tested him with immense hardships. His trials can be categorized into three major difficulties, each testing his patience and unwavering faith in Allah. Number one is the loss of his wealth. To test his devotion and reliance on Allah, Prophet Ayub alayhi salam was stripped of all his material possessions. His vast lands, flocks of livestock, and abundant crops were gradually destroyed or taken away. The man who was once among the wealthiest now found himself in complete poverty. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala remind us in the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ وَنَقْصٍ مِّنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ. And we will surely test you with something of fear, of hunger, loss of wealth, lives, fruits, but give glad tidings to those who are patient. Despite this tremendous hardship, Prophet Ayub alayhi salam remained steadfast. He continued to worship Allah with gratitude, accepting that his wealth had only been a temporary blessing from Allah. Number two, a severe illness. After losing his wealth, Prophet Ayub alayhi salam was tested with a painful and prolonged illness that affected his entire body. His strong and healthy physique weakened, leaving him in constant pain and suffering. As Prophet Ayub alayhi salam endured his severe illness, his skin, muscles, and organs began to deteriorate, making even the simplest movements extremely difficult and painful for him. His condition worsened to the point where people began to avoid him, fearing that his illness was contagious. Rather than offering support, they treated him as an outcast, distancing themselves from him and abandoning him in his time of need. Despite being forsaken by society, his devoted wife remained by his side, caring for him with an unwavering love, patience, and compassion. She endured great hardship and remained steadfast in her faith, and serving as his source of strength and support during his most difficult moments. This phase of his trial was incredibly difficult and isolating, yet Prophet Ayub alayhi salam surprisingly did not utter a single word of complaint. Instead, he endured his suffering with complete submission to Allah's will. And the last trials is the family trials. On top of his physical suffering and loss of his wealth, Prophet Ayub alayhi salam endured the most painful trial of all, the loss of his children. A tragic event took their lives, leaving him with no family support except for his devoted wife. The grief of losing his children weighed heavily on Prophet Ayub's alayhi salam heart as he endured the immense sorrow of being separated from his beloved family. His wife suffered alongside with him, sharing in his pain while also enduring the struggles of poverty and the harsh rejection of the society. Instead of offering support of compassion, the people around him abandoned him, wrongly believing that his suffering was a curse, was a punishment from Allah, rather than a test of faith and patience. Prophet Ayub alayhi salam never complained about his suffering, even a single word. He remained firm in his faith, understanding that his trials were a test from Allah to purify and elevate him. Instead of questioning his faith, he turned to Allah in sincere dua. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned his beautiful dua in the Quran. وَأَيُّوبَ إِذْ نَادَى رَبَّهُ أَنِّي مَسَّنِيَ الضُّرُّ وَأَنْتَ أَرْحَمُ الرَّاحِمِينَ. And Ayub alayhi salam, when he called to his Lord, yani Allah, indeed adversity has touched me, and you are the most merciful of the merciful. This short yet powerful supplication from Prophet Ayub alayhi salam teaches us three essential aspects of true reliance on Allah. Number one, he did not complain about his suffering. He simply acknowledged his hardship without questioning Allah's decree. Number two, he recognized both his weakness and also he recognized Allah's mercy. His words reflect complete humility, demonstrating that only Allah has the power to relieve suffering and grant ease. And number 3, lastly, he relied solely on Allah and asked for healing. Instead of seeking help from others, Prophet Ayub alayhi salam turned directly to Allah, trusting in His wisdom and infinite mercy. From his story, we learn that our first response to hardship should always be turning to Allah rather than complaining or seeking purely worldly solutions. Because of his unwavering patience and steadfast faith, Allah responded to his dua and miraculously cured him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned, فَاسْتَجَبْنَا لَهُ فَكَشَفْنَا مَا بِهِ مِنْ ضُرٍّ وَآتَيْنَاهُ أَهْلَهُ وَمِثْلَهُمْ until the end. So we responded to him and we removed what afflicted him of adversity, and we gave him back his family and the like thereof with them as a mercy from us and a reminder for the worshippers. And how does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually rewarded him is basically by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala restored his health completely, making him stronger than before, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him back his family and blessed him with more children. And another thing is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala returned his wealth and doubled his blessings. And this miraculous transformation demonstrated Allah's mercy and justice, proving that no hardship lasts forever. And those who remain patient and steadfast in their faith will always be rewarded with relief and blessings from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in conclusion, my brothers and sisters, the story of Prophet Ayub alayhi salam serves as a powerful reminder that no trial lasts forever, and that Allah's mercy is always there and is always near. For example, if we face sickness, we should remember the patience of Ayub alayhi salam. If we lose wealth or if we lose our loved ones, we must trust that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will compensate us with something better. If we ever feel hopeless, we should turn to Allah, for He is the most merciful and the ones who responds to sincere prayers. Lastly, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the patience of Ayub alayhi salam and the strength to endure life's tests with full of faith and full of gratitude towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Jazakumullahu khairan.